And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. It's the late show. I'm your host, Kerry. With me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Brad, the Hatch Man. Hatcher, how you doing, buddy?
I'm tired. How are you, Kerry?
That's
kind of a redundant question.
I was doing all right, but I got over it. We have a. You guys are really going to enjoy this one. You know, we talked about this a little bit on the last show, and people leaving comments and having expectations. And I had made just a little post. I'd pinned it about people being spoiled by Sasquatch Chronicles and Dixie Cryptid, and you know they both put out such a good program that people get a lot of entertainment from it. And you know, that's just not why we're here. You know, we're trying to get as much information out of these sightings encounters as we can. You know, Brad and I are going to interject. It's just what we're going to do it, and the only real places we do that is where we think we can draw some detail or some information out of a situation. Questions we think you guys want answers to. And then, of course, we always get the good questions from the chat. So we do our best here. But, you know, this, if you're looking to be entertained, probably not the place to be. But
Bailey's asleep right now, so it's all good with that.
Yeah, we're just we're here to help people many as we can. So, you know, whatever people get out of telling their encounter and whatever someone might get out of hearing someone else's story and what they can take away from it. That's why we're here. So with that said, let's introduce our guests, Pam and Paul. How are you?
Doing fine.
Doing good.
Welcome.
Well, I know you guys live in the middle of nowhere, so
Yes.
you had to drive up the road just to get a signal.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you going to the links you're going to just to get this out. I've heard just about all of this. I got your pictures that I'm going to try to put up here a little bit earlier, a little bit later. I tried to get them up here earlier, but I'll get it together while you guys are going through your accounts. So we're not going to wait any. So whatever you guys want to start from the beginning, just maybe where you were as far as these creatures were concerned before you knew anything.
Okay.
Well, actually, it started. I've done a job for a elderly couple back in 2003 or 2004, somewhere in there. I was doing a job for him, and we got to talking. And the next day, that was on a Friday. The next day was the first day of bow season, and I was telling him, you know, me and my wife was going to go hunting. It was probably, we had to drive around 40 miles or so to get to where we wanted to hunt. And me and this gentleman was talking, and he said, there's no need in you driving that far to hunt. He said, I've got 80 acres right here. He said, you just come out here and y'all hunt anytime y'all want. So the next day, that's what we did. We just went there and hunted, and we became real good friends over the years. And we stayed there hunting. And but about I guess it was probably about the second year that I hunted it, I had built a little box stand. There's a big transmission power line that runs across one corner of the property, and I had built a little box stand and put it in that power line right away. And there's a logging trail, an old logging trail that runs down to the power line. So about the second year I was hunting, I was going out there. This was in I think it was in November, rifle season, so it was pretty cool. And I was walking down this trail, and there were some footprints in front of me. I mean, they was probably about 8 inches long or so. I could not see any toes, but they was, other than that, they was perfect footprints. But I could tell they wasn't human, because, you know, I don't know what you call that, the inside of your foot, the curvature there. These did not have that. They was they were straight on both sides down to the hill. And the hill was really deeper than the front of the foot. And they was just very, very clear tracks. And probably, I think they was probably about 4 or 5 tracks that I seen that was just really clear. And, you know, I thought it was strange. I knew it wasn't human. But,
well, it's winter time anyway, right?
Yes, it was wintertime. So even if it would have been a person, I don't know why they'd been out there barefooted.
Right.
And, you know, we've hunted this property ever since then, and we actually live there now. But we have never seen anybody out there. He didn't allow anybody to hunt. And we, like I said, we've never seen anybody out there on the property, you know.
There you go, Paul. Mark Hackett just became a member. Look at that deer.
Oh, wow. It is a nice buck.
I don't even look real. Thank you, Mark.
But so anyway,
I guess the next big thing that we noticed was, you know, which he had come home and told me about the prints, which we, you know, at that time I guess
had thought a little bit about Bigfoot, but not
yeah.
much. I mean,
I had seen the Boggy Creek Monster movie, and I had seen the Patty footage, you know, when I was a kid, but, you know, we didn't really, I guess, stand out in our mind that that's what it could be. And
about the same exposure most people get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, I don't know really what year it was. I don't know if it was that same year that he discovered the tracks, or if it was the next year. But I was walking to this box stand that he had put out, and there was a cedar tree in front of the stand. And as I was walking through, there was a limb that was approximately, it was what, about 10 foot off the ground?
Yeah, at least.
And it was about 2 to 3 inches in diameter. And it was completely just snapped off and laid on the ground there. And I thought, what in the world would do that, you know? And then we hunted. And then afterwards, I had Paul come over and look at it. I said, what would do this? And he said, you know, I don't know. He said, that is weird, because a buck couldn't have, you know.
Yeah, it was way too high
for a deer. And it was a pretty good sized limb. And, you know, so still things were, you know, just little things like that was going on.
Is that it?
And then the next day, Paul's brother.
That's a tree that we just found.
No, that's a tree that's a different tree.
Okay.
That's a different tree. I'm sorry.
No problem.
That happened a little bit later. But the next day after we found that limb broke, you know, it was completely laying on the ground. Paul's brother came out there and went hunting with him.
Yeah, my brothers come out to hunt, and I told him, I said, I've got a stand for Pam up the creek there. I said, why don't you go up there and sit on that stand there? It'd be a really good place. Well, he went up there, but it was starting to get late in the afternoon when we got out there. He decided to just sit on the ground under the stand. He didn't get up in it. And he said right before dark, he heard something in the creek. And he looked over, and he said they was just something big and black walking up the creek on 2 legs. You know, he was upright. And he said he could not tell what it was. He couldn't tell if it was a man or beast or what. It was just really huge. So a few days later, well, actually the next day, I went back and I went and sat in that very stand. And I heard all kinds of noise on the hill to my right.
Like what?
There's 2 big ridges. Where our house is at is kind of on a creek valley, and there's 2 big ridges on both sides of us. And we used to hear all kinds of knocks, me and my brother, when we'd hunt out there. we'd hear wood knocks all the time, and we'd question what was that, because it just drive us nuts, because we heard them all the time out there.
Mm-hmm.
That next morning, I had went out there and sat on that stand, and I started hearing all these noises up on this hill, and back toward my truck, the dogs, sounded like 2 or 3 dogs down there just going crazy. And I don't really remember the noises I was hearing, but it was an odd noise. So it kind of spooked me. So I got down, I went to the truck and went to the house. I didn't hunt the rest of the day there.
What kind of noises?
I don't remember. I just remember there was some odd noises that I hadn't heard up there before.
Vocal or?
Just a lot of, I could hear the wood knocks and stuff, but it was just a lot of thrashing up in there that did not sound right. And I could hear some kind of, I don't know if it was vocal.
Like gibberish?
Yeah.
People mumbling?
And, well, it wasn't really like people mumbling. It was some sort of vocalization, animal-like, but then the dogs started going crazy. So that kind of spooked me, and I got down and went to the truck,
What were you thinking?
I was thinking Bigfoot at the time.
Well, now,
because later on, me and my brother went back down there just to do a size comparison, because we had been finding deer bones there, especially in one area pretty close to where the stand is at. Never really found them anywhere else, just in this little thicket that was by this deer stand. And the thicket was probably a couple 100 yards long, probably about 100 yards long and about 50 yards wide. And it was really growed up, had a lot of cedars in there and just sage grass and stuff. And we would always find bones in that little patch right there all the time. And,
like pretty fresh.
No,
or could you tell?
Most of them was older bones that we found in there,
Okay.
But there was a bunch of them. I mean, just, I don't know, from season to season, like if they killed them after season and they was in there or something, I don't know. But by the time Pam and I would find them, they, had already turned white,
Mm-hmm.
But we'd find them out there all the time in that area.
Were y'all thinking poachers at all? Just
no.
It didn't. Okay, not at all.
No.
Well, it's good you were at least aware. That's
like
that's
I said,
fantastic.
I've never seen anybody out there on this property, But anyway, I'm getting back to that sighting that he's seen. We went back over, and I wanted to do a size comparison because I was curious by this time,
Mm-hmm.
And so I stepped off, and he sat back in the same place on the ground, and I stepped off in the creek and started walking up the creek. Well, he could see this thing from the waist up, is what he told me. And when I went down in the creek, he could see about the top of my shoulders up on me. So if it was a man, it was a very large man.
it would have been pushing almost probably 8.
I'm about 5'11" with my boots on. I'm about 5'11". So,
You think of 8 feet range,
probably,
8 foot range?
Probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh. Well, let me ask you this: did y'all have hogs, or do you have hogs on the property?
My brother and his son hunted one time. Would be out there, and they did see, I think 3, and that's the only time we've ever seen any on there.
Okay, so you were still thinking that it was Bigfoot and not hogs or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we also would put deer feeders out, on the property, and and we hadn't bought any of this property yet, but we would always go out there. We'd take the 4-wheeler and go out there, and
a lot of times we'd go out there we just loved it out there. So a lot of times we'd go out there and we just sat in deer stand, out of season, no guns. We just sat up in the deer stand and just enjoy it out there.
Just enjoy it.
But
I understand.
Me too.
One year, I don't remember what year it was exactly now. I've got it written down probably here, but anyway, we decided to go out and put some feed in our feeders before season come in, and so we went out there and we got on the 4-wheeler and rode out across the field and over to the power line, because I had hung a feeder up kind of in the edge of that power line. And the man that, well, actually his son, the man's son, wound up owning the place. He had passed away. Him and his wife passed away, so his son wound up with the place. And anyway, he had been out there bush hogging, and there was a bunch of sheet metal tin. They was doing a little building project out there, and a lot of that tin was scattered out in the middle of that power line. Well, when he bush hogged, he picked up all that tin and piled it in a pile, just stacked it up in a pile. And where the tin had been laying, it was just dead grass, real dark. Well, we pulled up on the 4-wheeler, and I just happened to look down, and there was a little flip phone laying right there in the middle of that dark spot. So I got off the 4-wheeler and picked it up, and it'd been there for a while, looked like, and it looked like it'd been chewed on by coyotes or something. It had teeth marks on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened it up. It didn't come on or anything. So I just laid it on that pile of tin, and we went on and checked our feeders and stuff, and we left. The next day, we decided to go back out there again, and we went back out, and I drove back across the same path, went out to the power line. When I pulled up there was that phone laying exactly in the grass in the same place that I had picked it up before. And it couldn't have fell off. The wind couldn't have blown it off. It was probably 4 or 5 foot away from the pile of tin, you know. So it didn't just slide off of there and lay there. So I thought it was kind of strange. So I picked it up. I put it right back on that pile of tin again. And we left. We done our thing there, and then we left. And next day, we went back again. And I was kind of curious then. So I drove straight over there, you know, because that kind of freaked me out that phone was back in the same place. So we pulled back up over there. Well, the phone was gone. Wasn't nowhere around. But there was a piece of 1/2-inch conduit pipe laying exactly where the phone had been laying in that dark grass. And so that really freaked us out then. I picked the pipe up and I put it on that pile of tin. Well, the next day we wasn't able to go out there. Something come up, so we didn't get to go. But the following day, we went back out there. We went over there, drove right back to the same spot, and that conduit pipe was gone, and the phone was gone. But there was a little, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen inside of a house trailer, on the ceiling, it's got a little flowery button. The older trailers had them anyway, and it's got a screw right in the middle of that flower button that holds the sheetrock to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was one of them laying exactly in the same place on the ground. Where these objects come from, I had no clue.
And where the other objects went, we don't know.
Where they went, I don't know. So my wife, I don't remember if we picked it up and laid it on the tin.
We picked it up and laid it on the tin, and then I had a ponytail in, so I took the ponytail holder out, and I had a piece of candy in my pocket that was in a wrapper, and I laid it down there. And then I don't know if it was the next day that we went back out, but when we went back out, the little button was gone, but my stuff was still laying there, and it laid there. I mean, nothing.
It lay there for a long time.
Nothing ever picked it up. I left it there for a long time, and then you found the phone.
I was out there actually bush hogging I don't know, a couple of months later maybe, and actually found the phone again while I was bush hogging. And it was 200 or 300 yards up the power line, laying in the power line.
Did you think that you were having some interactions with these beings?
That's the only thing I can figure. I tried to blame it on coyotes, and my wife laughed at me. Said, and so I really thought it was probably a Bigfoot, but I guess I didn't want to admit it.
Right.
Sure do.
But I really think that's what it was. I really do.
So was that the only things that happened then?
No, we've got several things here.
I mean, with the exchanges.
With
that, we could never, we didn't know what else it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess as things kept happening, because it wasn't too long. Was it that same year or probably the next year? We was out there hunting. I was sitting in my stand. I was sitting by this power line where all this had happened. And some dogs had come running through the woods. And the way the property is laid out, there's a fence line that connects to a wood line. And then the wood line comes back out into like a point. And so the wood line and the fence line also make a point. And these dogs had come through those woods and was up there in that point, and they was just growling and barking, and they was rolling all over the ground. And you had to kind of walk up a little knoll to get up there. And I thought, well, there goes my deer hunting. And they was over there just raising all kinds of heck over there. So I get down and head over there, running them off. And I thought maybe they had a deer or something up there in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I just walked on up to the corner. And as I got up there, I smelt this. I had never smelt anything like it. It was disgusting. It smelled like dead animal with a combination of like sour, I don't know, musky sour smell. And I'm like, what in the world is that? And then when I get up there to look in that corner, across the power line in the woods, it's just a big cedar thicket.
The dogs run off.
Yeah, the dogs.
Because they come by me up there.
Yeah, the dogs had ran off. Something let out this growl. And it was something I have never heard in my life. Because I could tell whatever it was had to be big. And so I just started backing out. I wouldn't turn my back on it. I just started backing out. And I had to back all the way. I probably backed up about 75 yards till I hit the creek. And then once I hit that creek, I turned and I ran to the truck, which was probably about another 150 yards. And I mean, it was terrifying because whatever this was I don't know. We went home that night and was looking up growl sounds, and I mean, it didn't compare to anything that would be around here, any type of animal. It was not a dog, and it was not a bear. I know big cats can kind of make a little bit of a growly sound, but it was nothing like that.
Really deep, projected.
Yes, and that
rattle your chest type of thing.
Yeah, and it was the deepness was what was. I don't know. It was terrifying. It scared me. I told my husband. I said, I don't know if I want to hunt back over there. And I think I quit hunting that area for a little while, but I eventually started hunting back over there again. In fact, that's where I still hunt at today. But
how long did the growl last?
It was probably like 2-3 seconds. It wasn't actually. I think it done 2 growls because I think it was like it growled, and then it was like a little pause, and then it continued on. So I don't know if it stopped or if it just got to where I couldn't hear it and then got a little louder again. But
So was it moving?
no, it was stationary. It sounded like it was just coming from a certain part in the woods.
I think it was growling at you.
Yes, I think because I was standing there with a gun. And I mean, it was probably whatever it was upset because these dogs. I don't know if the dogs had chased it or, if the dogs made it mad. I don't know.
Gave them away. Yeah.
Might have thought you could see it. Might have thought maybe they thought you knew it was there.
I don't know, but it was very, very scary to hear something that massive sounding. That's the only way I can describe it because of the growl. I mean, and how deep it was. And it wasn't just something you could barely hear. It was loud.
Well, we talked about it. These beings made no bones about showing themselves to you.
Yeah.
So maybe there was something along there where they thought, hey, they know we're here anyway. Maybe they just knew you knew.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like that seems to be the case more times than not.
And
well, please,
we have seen things. I can't prove that what I seen was a Bigfoot. As you're leaving our property, that transmission power line crosses our drive on the way out, the road on the way out, and then it crosses the river. We're about 3/4 of a mile from the river, I guess. And every time I drive down through there, I look both ways on that power line. Just, I just got a habit of doing that just because there's all time game and stuff in those power
lines. If you're a hunter, it seems like anytime there's a power line, you're always
looking.
Yeah.
Well, I was going out one day and I looked to my left on this one power line, and I don't know. Like I said, I can't prove that's what I seen, but there was 2 dark objects. One, just what it looked like to me was one standing, and then one kind of either sitting or kneeling or something, because it was as big, broad, but it was shorter. But they were side by side. But they didn't ever move, and I didn't stop. I'm bad about not checking further into things. I've done that too many times. I don't know why, but I seen it and I drove on. I don't know why, but and then another time, on the same side there on that power line, me and Pam. I think that was probably when we was actually building out there. We was going out to town one day, and we do have one neighbor that lives probably 1/4 of a mile through the woods from us, and so they use that road as well. But they're the only ones back there that uses this road. But so, and where I was at, it's kind of a knoll. It's kind of a hill there. Well, I drove by this power line and I looked up there and I seen this, massive black. When I seen it, I thought it was a tree that had been kind of like broke off and then burnt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like to me. And I went over that hill and I told him, I said, is there an old tree that's burnt standing in that power line there? She said, I don't think so. She said, well, back up. I said, well, I don't want to back up because I don't want them to be coming up that hill and rear end me, because, I just didn't want to back up that hill on a blind hill like that.
Sure.
I said, when we come back, us look and see if there's because that's what it looked like to me, was an old burnt tree standing in that power line, but I hadn't really noticed it before, you know. Well, sure enough, when we come back, there is absolutely nothing in that power line,
No.
you know. So I don't know what I think, but it was huge. I bear hunt a lot, and I know it wasn't no bear. It was absolutely not a bear. Too big. Too big.
I've done the exact same thing at Brown Springs. Saw what I thought was old, tall, burnt tree.
Mm-hmm.
Look back and it be gone. That's actually happened to me several times in the woods. But I mean, in the moment, it just seems like there's no reason for you to think it's anything else
Right.
until you look back and it's not there, and then you know, you kind of kick yourself for not pulling out the camera or whatever.
I wish I would have backed up that day, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then another time we was going out, we had two of our friends with us, and my wife and her was in the back seat, and her husband was in the front. When we was right in the same place, and I looked down to my right, down the power line towards the river, and I was still rolling, and I seen something by a cedar tree down there. And this power line, they hadn't mowed it in several years, so it was really growed up. It was probably, I'm guessing, a good 6 foot or better. It might have been 7 foot tall brush, you know, down through there. But I could see something black standing by this cedar tree. So I slammed on my brakes and I backed up. And when I backed up, well, it wasn't there anymore. And everybody wondered what was going on. I said, I just seen something right down there. And the lady in the back said, was it down there by that cedar tree? I said, yeah, that's exactly where it was at. She said, I seen that too. And so I don't know what that was either, but it had to be 8 or 9 foot tall, you know, to be able to see it.
There were some people asking where you guys were located. I know you don't want to give away the exact location. Can you be as general as just
We're
state?
northeast Arkansas.
It's kind of like this.
Northeast Arkansas.
Around Ozarks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But and after he had, you know, we had seen that in that little power line there. I think I sent you some pictures while we was building the house. Well, first, the night before or 2 nights before I found these tracks, we was working on the house. We have sliding doors in the front, and I had opened up the sliding door and was standing there looking out, and I thought I could see something move between these cedar trees that's across the creek, and whatever it was big. And I kind of laughed, and I told Paul, I said, I just really think I saw something out there, you know. Anyways, I didn't ever think too much more about it. And our sister-in-law had found an arrowhead out in our yard. So it was about 2 nights later. I was out there looking around in the yard to see if I could find another arrowhead. And I found these tracks. And there was a smaller one and a bigger one. And there was just one track each of the small one and the big one. And I think I sent those to you.
Which ones is it?
It's a track, a footprint.
Yeah, I didn't see those.
You didn't see those?
No, I didn't see any footprints. I got the trees. I got the ones pushed down over the trail. I mean, a green oak tree pushed down over the trail. And I got the other tree up here. Then I got something that you drew up here, Pam. Yeah. So we haven't gotten to that yet.
I wish you could have got the footprints because they was huge. One of them was
huge, and the other one was, you know, I had on my muck boot, and it was like about a size 6 women's muck boot, and it was a little bit longer than my boot and wider, the small one, but the big one was really big.
It was probably, don't know. I'm guessing 15, 18 inches long.
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
Oh wow.
I got them.
I sent them to you through a text.
Yeah, give me just a second, and I'll send them to myself.
Yeah.
But y'all go ahead with your.
Okay, but and that was, I know that those footprints, I found them in March of 2016 because I looked back on my phone to see.
But you know, we have smells every now and then out there,
especially during the springtime.
Yeah, and it's like a real strong urine smell.
Mm-hmm.
And this is beyond strong urine. This is like rotten urine.
Gee.
It's but and it happens every spring. But
do you think they're marking their territory with where it is, or?
We've wondered that because you know we've heard these wood knocks for years out there, and also I noticed here. Oh, it might have been last year. We were sitting out front, and some hoot owls started hooting, and they sounded like about 3 or 4 of them, maybe.
Yeah.
But these was the
weirdest,
oddest hoot owl I've ever heard in my life. It sounded more like a person than it did a hoot owl. It didn't sound like a hoot owl to me. You know, maybe it was, but they was
really weird.
They was weird sounding.
But,
it's funny how that's just prevalent all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
The owl that doesn't sound like an owl.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let me ask y'all this question: Did the people that own the property before y'all, did they ever say anything?
No.
They were okay.
And then we bought 40 of the 80, and we still hunt the other 40.
Mm-hmm.
So we can still hunt there.
We take care of that for him.
And we kind of,
he don't live there.
Yeah, he doesn't live in Arkansas, so we kind of oversee that part for him. And then one day, my husband and I, it was during the spring, we was coming home. I think we was coming home from church, and we used to have to drive through a creek.
Yeah, there's the track there.
Oh yeah, that's the small track.
But I mean that you're right. It doesn't look human. What I didn't mean to break the story up. I just had gotten these done. I got a couple of more here. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and put up. Go ahead.
Oh, and on that picture there, where it showed my foot beside the track, in front and at the toe of my foot is you can tell there's like a square. Oh well, but that was my husband's. He has a backhoe, and that's the tire track. And so you can see the tire track versus this foot track. The impression, and that was a small one.
Wow.
These are the 3 that I got.
And that's the big one.
That's a lot of foot.
Yeah, you can see the mid-tarsal break in there. But that other one, you see the toes in, and it just
right.
Doesn't look like somebody. There's no arch there. These are right behind your house?
Oh, that was right
in the front yard.
Front yard. And that was, I found those like 2 days.
That was why we was building the house.
Yeah, we was building the house because I had seen something, it was at nighttime. I'd seen something across the creek run between the cedar trees. And then 2 nights later, I found those. And
well, you had a lot of this just ambiguous type of activity where, the kind that can go, whether you're aware or not, can just kind of go one way or the other. You can explain it away. But things started to escalate and started to ramp up on you guys, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, and, we was coming home one day, and like I said, we was having to drive through a creek at that time. And my husband looked over, and he stopped right in the middle of the creek. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "What is that?" And we could see an arm. It was splashing water back and forth. You saw it better than I did.
Yeah, it was This arm was probably, I'm guessing, we could see at least 3 foot of it, and it was probably the size of maybe a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Probably, but it was solid black. You could see the sun kind of glistening off the hair, but it was going in a back and forth motion, and it was splashing water 3 foot up out of the creek.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was just splashing back and forth, and the water. I guarantee you, the water was coming 3 foot out of the creek. But
Y'all
I
were
could
coming
not
back from
see-
church. This was midday.
Yeah.
This was about probably 1:30.
Yeah, and it was
I'm
like
guessing.
early spring when stuff was just starting to bud out. So you could still see down the creek pretty good.
And it was probably, I'm guessing, 60 yards down the creek from us.
And that big. Wow.
But we couldn't see the body because the creek kind of bends there, and there was a bunch of trees kind of right in that bend. So it was kind of in behind that. So that's all we could ever see was just that arm.
Well, our neighbor though, she was pulling out of her gate, and we was blocking her way, so we had to pull out of the way to let her go through. And I think, because I asked Paul, I said, what was that?
I tried to blame it off as a beaver.
And when he said that, I said, a beaver? I said, you're kidding. I said, that was an arm. And it took him about 2 days to finally admit to me that it was an arm. He didn't want to believe that it was an arm.
But I know it's what it was.
I mean,
I'd almost
well, we
guarantee
both, it was.
But we went back down there. Actually, we didn't go down there for 4 or 5 days later, just to look for tracks. Did not see any tracks or anything, but that's a pretty deep hole right there. And what I think is, because he was hot, I think he was sitting down in the creek cooling off in that deep hole. That's what I think.
Very well could be.
Yeah. But and like I said, we've had multiple things. But after that, once we got the house built and was living there, it got to a point, and we don't have good phone service out there. We had to actually purchase a cell phone booster, and and they came out and installed it, but we didn't have this yet. And so to send a text message, you would have to go outside most of the time to send a text message. And I remember one night in particular, I went outside to send a text message, and I just stepped out the door to the corner of the house, and then something behind the house it sounded like it just smacked a tree, and that tree just went crashing down. Well, I went running back in the house, and I told Paul, I said, there is something behind the house. And then my son, he had to temporarily move back home for a little while, and he would go outside to smoke. And just about every night, he would say, Mom, come out here. And I'd go out there, and one night in particular, he was like, what is this? And you could hear something in the woods. It had like a hold of a tree, and it was just thrashing that tree back and forth. And I said, Aaron, I don't know what this is. I said, I think it's a Bigfoot. And and it would do the same thing when I would deer hunt.
What did he say when you said that?
He was starting to believe, I think, because he would go outside several times, and just about every time he would go out, he would hear something cracking limbs, or he heard something running up the creek making some kind of weird noise. But I think he was kind of like everybody else, can these things be real,
Right.
And then I would go sit in my deer stand, and I would hear these weird thumping sounds behind me. And when I say thump, it would sound like somebody taking like a big rock and just throwing it down the ground, like hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that would happen a lot. And then one day in particular, it was like, I think it was the first deer season after we built the house that we, because we actually got to hunt. We didn't get to hunt the year before because we was too busy. And I was sitting in my stand and I kept hearing, I heard a tree get pushed over, and it wasn't a limb falling. This was a tree. And then a little while later, I heard another one. And I'm like, okay, this is getting creepy. And so when we met back at the house for lunch, I told Paul, I said, there's some weird stuff, happening. I said, I don't know what to make of all this. It was really starting to kind of really freak me out. I felt, everything we had seen on TV was like, these things won't hurt you. They're afraid of you. They won't bother you. But I was feeling a little bit different. I'm like, and he was like, are you sure it was trees? And I said, if you don't believe me, you come sit in my stand with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that evening, when we went back out to do the evening hunt, we was sitting there, and we hadn't been sitting there not very long.
10 minutes.
And the wind wasn't blowing, and across from me, in the woods across from me, there goes another tree. And I looked at him and I said, see, I told you. And
there was absolutely no wind blowing. I mean, it was calm.
It was, it was kind of like just, I kind of got the feeling maybe that we had moved in to its territory and it didn't like it. That was just the way I felt. Because
where we built our house was super, super thick. I mean, you couldn't hardly walk through it. It was really thick there. And I really think that it hid out there a lot. I think they've been around here for a long time. I think they're still around here. I don't really think they stay in one particular spot. I think they're on the move a lot because there's too many people around here that have seen them, in different areas around here, real close by still.
Mm-hmm. So are y'all like talking with your neighbors about, oh, by the way, are you having...
Not really neighbors, no.
Okay.
Just, I've got a big family.
Okay.
And all of us hunt and fish and stuff. And, there's been a lot of activity on some of the rivers around here,
But, I guess I can say the final story to all this, I mean, there ain't no guessing about it. We
take your time. I know this is not easy, so just take your time.
It's I've been trying to work up to this, to tell this. I just wanted everybody to get kind of what we've been going through the past several years. We live out in the middle of nowhere, and I have a swimming pool. And, my husband closes the gate when he leaves, and so I'll go out, and get in my pool, take my clothes off, lay them to the side, and, clean my pool or, get in my pool. Well, it was on Monday, in June of this year. I wrote the date down. It was this June. I had went out to get in the pool and was going to have to clean it. And I was, vacuuming it and getting the stuff off the top of the pool, and got all that done. And I thought, I'm going to, relax a little bit. And I got on my mat, was floating around, and I looked to I guess it would be the northeast part of our property. We have a path that goes back to the northeast part of our property. And I seen this, it was something reddish brown. I could see what looked like a shoulder and like part of a head maybe. And I thought, what is that? Because I knew it couldn't be a deer. It was too tall for a deer. And so I just watched it for a little bit and thought, well, I'm going to float over and get me a drink and then come back and see if it's there. Well, when I went back, it was gone. I thought, okay, that's creepy, kind of weird. And before that, I kept hearing this weird whistle before I seen this. It was it could have been a bird. I don't know. It would just make one little, but it was loud.
But out of place.
Yeah, and it started over in the woods by the power line. It was right after I came outside. And then when I heard it again, it was over in our woods. And then I thought, okay, it's weird, but it could be a bird. And then I saw whatever that, saw that. Well, then that evening, Paul and I was sitting outside, out front, and we heard a wood knock come from the woods to the northeast of our house. And it was one solid knock.
Yeah, it was a good knock. I mean, what you hear on TV, that's what it sounded like.
I mean, it was one, like somebody took a baseball bat and just, hit the tree. And I looked at him, I'm like, oh boy. And so Wednesday night we sat back out front again, and we heard another wood knock, and then we heard
it sounded like a sneeze.
It was weird, but
it was a real rough sneeze. It wasn't, I've heard deer sneeze and stuff, and it's a higher pitch. This was a deeper, rougher sneeze. Is what it sounded like.
It was close.
Yeah, it was really close. It was to the opposite side of the house from us. And I got
surrounded.
I got up and walked over there, and didn't never see anything.
But you got the woods around really our house. We're surrounded by woods. You walk out the door and head to the northeast, and you walk, 50 yards. You're in the woods. Behind the house, it's even closer.
Yeah. But you say you walked over there. You walked over there armed? You just walked over there?
No.
This ain't no time to be tough, Paul.
Well,
you gotta get a gun.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, brave. Y'all are brave.
When I go out in my pool, I have a 9mm that I carry with me out there, and
that's at least gonna hurt.
Yeah. And then this was on Wednesday night when all that happened. Well, then Thursday, I go out. I was getting ready to get in my pool, and I heard what sounded like, I don't know, somewhat of like a buck grunting, but it was different. It was deeper, and I thought, okay. So I got in the pool, and the pool was a bunch of stuff from the trees had fallen in the pool. The pool was filthy. I had to get in there and clean it. So I got on in the pool, and I heard that same noise again. And, which, like I said, I had my gun and everything out there with me. But, so I went on cleaning the pool, and I heard Paul has down that path that goes to the northeast part of the property. He has a lot of, he puts his stuff that he uses for welding, his metal.
All my metal pipes
and stuff back there.
Junk.
And so I was cleaning the pool, and I heard, like it sounded like metal on metal. It didn't sound like something fell and hit metal. It sounded like metal hitting metal, and I'm like, that was odd. So I was already on high alert, feeling a little creeped out. I'd heard something kind of crash through the woods. It could have been a limb. I don't know. But, and when I'm out there, I have a radio on, and, I had been in the pool for a little while, and I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and skim the top again and get the rest of the stuff off the top of the pool and get out. Well, as I was skimming the top of the water, I was make my way around the pool. I was about 15 foot from the ladder, and my gun and everything is over there. I looked up, and about 40 yards away from me, 20 yards being yard and driveway, and then another 20 into the woods, there one of them things stood. And
this one you got a good look, right?
yes. And I looked at it for about 3 or 4 seconds, and something told me, don't look at it. And when I say something told me don't look at it, I am a firm believer in guardian angels. It wasn't like mind speak, like this thing mind speaking to me. I've heard this voice before, and it saved my life before. And so when I heard this voice this time, I listened to it. And it's a female, and she said, don't look at it. So I just looked straight down, and I took a few steps forward, just trying to, and I was trying to listen because I didn't want this thing coming to me, because here I was in a pool, couldn't go anywhere. And I tried looking up in the carport, the top of the carport where my husband parks his truck was kind of blocking part of the view. And then I had a pool mat. My husband had laid an old pool mat that had a hole in it. It still had air in it, but he had laid it on top of the lawnmower. So all that was kind of blocking my view. And I didn't know where this thing was. If I was to walk towards the ladder, I would be walking towards it. So I thought, I got to know if it's there. So I took a few steps back, and this time probably 7 seconds had went by from the time I quit looking till I backed up. And when I backed up, it was gone. But I tried to draw a picture of what I saw. I can't explain why this thing had hair completely covering its face. And this picture, the arms was longer than that, but that's how it looked. The head was just like a hump. It was like it didn't have no neck. The shoulders,
like a lurch.
The shoulders were massive, and they just went straight out. They didn't have no slope or slant. It was just straight out. And then I could see the right side of this thing better because the sun was kind of shining through and hitting it on its right side. And I could see the hair hanging off the arms, and the thighs on this thing were huge. I couldn't tell if I didn't see any female or male parts, but I'm assuming just by the size, it was probably a male. But the hair, it was almost like it pulled the hair down in front of it. I don't know if it was doing it because there I was in my pool, or if it thought it was hiding itself better. I see nothing on the face. But this is, I don't know. But every time I think of this thing, I can still see that long hair hanging off of that arm. And above all of it, seeing the whole thing, that hair is what makes it so real, if that makes any sense.
It does. And you're talking about this thing's, it's reddish brown.
Yes.
About how tall?
Well, after my husband got home, he went out there, and my husband would have come up to about its upper chest. So I'm thinking about 7.5 foot tall. And
did you see the skin underneath? It was just all really thick.
I don't remember any skin. I could tell that the arm that was hanging off, it looked really muscular. I don't know if I saw skin or not. I just remember that long hair hanging off that arm. And
What you drew right there, especially with the shoulders, is exactly what Dustin Duncan describes, and he lives on the other side of the Ozarks.
Oh,
so
really?
maybe it's so in Missouri. So I mean, something about that area possibly. I don't know.
I don't know, but all I know is, and then the width of this thing, the shoulders. It was my husband. He's broad shouldered, and it was almost like two of him. I the sheer size of this thing, and I'm not talking just the height, the bulkiness. It was, and after I backed up and seen it was gone. I remember thinking, I've got to walk towards that ladder to get out of this pool.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was because I was so scared, I guess, but I don't even remember getting out of my pool. I don't remember even getting my bag, my gun, my phone. I do remember we have steps that we have to walk up to get to the house. I do remember, because I was so scared I was going to see this thing again. I do remember when because I was looking for it when I was at the steps. I do remember that. And I don't know if it was because I was so scared, but I cannot even remember getting out of my own pool. It's all, when you see something like that, and
well, it's just it's confirmation. Now you're sure. Not only that, Paul, how do you feel about this?
I worry about her being out there, especially during the day. If she's going to be in the pool while I'm at work, I do worry about that, I don't know if they would harm you or not. I don't really want to take that chance,
You just can't. You just can't. And
Right.
one that's making no bones about you seeing it.
Yeah.
There has to have been something in there that clued them in that you were already knew.
Mm-hmm.
To me, or I don't think they would have come out at all. I just think that's just part of their nature, is to remain hidden until they just know they're busted, and then it doesn't really matter much after that. But they didn't go anywhere, and you guys are still having these issues, right?
Yeah. Well, and I guess what was creepy to me is that both times I seen it, I was in my pool. So it makes me wonder if it's like watching me when I'm in my swimming pool.
I'm sure they're watching you all the time. Hate to say that.
A lot of times now, she props a shotgun up next to the pool on one side and has her handgun on the other. So
slugs.
It might slow him down anyway. You
got slugs in it. You got slugs in that thing?
No, I actually already loaded with slugs.
Slug, buckshot, slug, buckshot, slug.
Take 3-inch.
Take the plug out.
Yeah.
Take the plug out.
To add something a little more interesting to my story there.
Even more? Wow.
Yes. Well, my husband's brother, had told this guy that he worked with, some of the stuff that had happened out there over the years. Well, this guy had come to my brother-in-law and said, man, he said, I had something strange happen. And this guy, if you we looked on Google Earth, he lives about a mile and a half through the woods from our house. He said, I was going to take my dog out last night to go to the bathroom. He said, we walked out the door. He said the dog did it kind of growl at first, or?
Yeah, I guess it just started, growling and booger barking.
That's what he was saying.
It wouldn't go. It wouldn't leave him. It wouldn't
go out to the yard.
It wouldn't go out.
Right, stayed right next to him or underneath him.
Yeah, it just stayed right there, barking and growling.
And this guy, he said he has a light that shines out his, out the back, and it hits his shop, and you can see a tree, the there's a tree there, and you can see that limb, part of that limb, but you can't see the tree. Well, he said about that time.
Well, he said he could hear this thing making
like a grunting.
Almost like he said it sounded like a monkey grunting.
He was making the noise, but
yeah,
I
can't make the noise he was making, but anyway.
And he said when it started doing that, the dog started really growling and barking. And then when the dog started getting really upset, he said whatever this was, grabbed this limb, which was, we went out there and looked at the tree. It was bigger. It was
bigger than a Coke bottle.
It was bigger than a Coke can.
I could jump up, if I could jump that high. I could hang off of it, no problem. It wouldn't touch the ground by no means. I'm a couple 100 pounds, 215 pounds or so. But I could grab a hold of it. There's no way I could pull it to the ground, unless I was way out on the end.
But if he said that the end of the limb he could see, but he said something when that dog started growling and going crazy, then something grabbed that limb and started just shaking it up and down to where that limb was almost coming down to the ground. He said, and when that happened, he said his dog turned and ran straight back in the house and ran into its kennel. And he told Paul's brother, he said, I think Paul might be right. And then, but what was odd was that happened right in the same time when I seen what I saw. And they didn't know it. This guy didn't know it. Paul's brother didn't know it, because Paul's brother called him and said, I got a story to tell you. And he told, Paul what his coworker told him. And Paul says, well, I got a story to tell you. So he told his brother what I seen. And it was just within a day or two apart. And like I said, this guy only lives like a mile and a half through the woods from our house. And I don't know if it was the same one, but regardless, and when we went over there, and this guy, he didn't even think to look, there was what looked like a track behind this tree. It was in a real brushy area, and you could see the heel, you could even see some toes.
I tried to get a picture of it, but it would never take right on my phone.
Yeah, but it sounds like you could see where he was digging in when he was shaking that branch. Yeah.
It was a pretty deep impression in the leaves. Is what it was. But that's what it looked like to us, was a footprint. Now I don't know that it was, but that's what it looked like. I tried to get pictures of it, but it wouldn't take right.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell nothing about it on a picture.
Well, I know you guys have been through a lot with this, and I really want to take some questions from the chat. I know there are a few people that had questions earlier. Regular people that know we take questions at the end. They still want to know, though. They're going to see if that question is going to get put up. So, hey, get your questions ready if you guys don't mind answering a few. We'll ask everyone in the chat. You guys be careful what you put up there. There are at least 2 kids we know of that are watching. Dixie Dobbins, Bentley Bennett. They are 9 and 10 years old. They watch every show and probably read along. So let's try not to disparage the sexes or anything like that. We appreciate you.
Well, heck, I'll start off with a question real quick. Has y'all's house been hit? Have they slammed the side of the house or done anything like that?
No. The whole front of our glass, or the whole front of our house is glass. So I hope you don't know anything, because it's all glass.
Now there was when I had sent this picture to Carrie when I was getting ready for bed, and I turned on my bathroom light. I heard a loud crack, behind the house, and I thought, what in the world was that? Well, the next day when I was leaving out for work, and our driveway goes behind our house, and I backed out and was pulling up, and I saw it was a cedar tree that had just been completely snapped over. And
that's not this one. That's not
no,
this one, right?
We just found this.
We just found
We
that.
just found that a few days ago.
This one was a smaller one. It was probably about 3 inches in diameter, maybe.
What's so weird?
but
that tree.
this
that
is the
you
one
showed there.
over the trail.
Yes, that just happened this week.
But I mean, that's the same tree we just showed the base of, a green oak tree.
No, that's a different tree.
That's a different tree.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's
The
okay. I
other
thought you were
tree-
telling me earlier it was.
You can almost see the other tree from there.
Okay.
If you see where the path turns to the left, there's another
Yeah.
tree that's still got leaves on it. That's down across it right there.
There's
And we
no
got-
reason for this in the summertime to just fall
And we
across
got
the path.
we got a camera up right back there too, but our daggum batteries keep going dead on this camera
And
for some reason.
we put new batteries in it, and we'll get a couple of critters on there, and then all of a sudden it's just dead.
You ever get error files?
Get what?
Error.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
We've had those come up as well.
That seems to happen quite a bit when it comes to these creatures. We did our 11th documentary in Mississippi, and Mike and Dee talked about the exact same thing. We saw big trees pushed over the path. We had to move one to get in there just to film. So I don't know if it's a warning or what, but it doesn't seem good to me.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we got any questions for you guys. Got and look, if I missed your question, I apologize. Mr. Lighthouse asked an excellent question here. Did everyone smash the like button? That's an excellent question. And just ask yourself that. Did you smash the like button or did you just lightly tap it? Either way, we'll take either one. And there's a comment section. Let us know what you think down below, please. All right. What did I skip? Probably a lot.
I'll tell you. Here we go.
JD Sedona. Have you experienced any other high strangeness, such as orbs? You see orbs around there?
No.
Can't say I've ever seen anything, as an orb or anything.
Let's see.
Well, you would know one if you saw it. So
Here's Miss Johnny says, do you think maybe Paul and Pam could also have Dog Man on their property?
Oh,
You guys see anything like that?
I hope not.
Yeah, I heard that. No
I
doubt.
know we don't have time in this story tonight, but my nephew had a sighting down on the river when he was about 10-year-old, which was about 14 years ago, of one. Basically, I'm thinking about the same color, but it was more slender built than this one. I don't have time to go into that story tonight, but
well, there's 635 people watching. You guys take all the time you want. Well, that's just 635 in chat. There's probably twice that not in the chat. So,
well, I mean,
Mike,
I don't want to take up too much time, but
it's your show. It's a late show. We used to run late all the time on the late show. We usually just keep.
We really did. We haven't gone late in a while, so please take your time.
Okay,
if there's something to tell, we'll stay for sure.
Okay.
Well, our nephew, he's in the military now. He's a grown man, has a wife and a baby, and another one on the way. But he said when he was about 8 or 9 when he had went to this area of the river, which is how far from our house? Half a mile, maybe 3/4.
About 3/4, between 3/4 and a mile.
And he had went with one of his friends and his mom and dad, and there was these weird structure things. And he asked this boy's dad. He says, "What are these things? What is that?" And he said, "Oh, that's something that the hairy man makes. It's just what this guy told him, and he was like, he didn't really know what to think about that. Well, then about a year or two later, he went back out there with his mom and dad and his brothers. And he said when they got out there, he said the first thing he noticed was one of these little, he was calling it a nest. He says kind of what it looked like. And he said he went over and was looking at it, and well, anyway, so they was fishing. His dad was grilling burgers, and then they, he was.
He called them all up to eat.
He called them all up to eat, and he said I was just really wanting to get back out there and fish. He said so when he said I hurried up and got back out there. He said everybody else was still up there eating. He said they was probably about 50, 60 yards away. He said I went out into this. He said there was a log out in the middle of the river, and he said you could wade out to this log. He said it wasn't real deep. He said I got up on this log and was fishing, and he said I caught something out of the corner of my eye down the river. He said it was, kind of like a.
He said it was real shiny.
It's real shiny looking. He said at first he just thought it was the water, like the sun on the water. And then he said he went back to fishing, and everything. And he said he turned back and he looked, and then he said he thought it looked like a tree standing there, and he was like, was there? He was saying, he was asking himself, was there a tree there? And then he said this thing got down on its hands and knees, and it put its arm out, and it stuck its face down towards the water, put its arm out, and was pulling the water up to its mouth. And he said then he realized what he was seeing, and he said he started screaming, and he jumped off that log and took off running towards his dad, and he was telling his dad.
His dad met him about halfway.
Yeah, and
he said all I could see
was the brush moving where it went into the woods. But he said this thing, he said it wasn't, like muscular, like, people describe a Bigfoot. He said this one was kind of slim, kind of lean, but he said its hair, he said it was so shiny. He said it was like almost like glistening. He said it was like a sandy color.
And he said it was very, very pretty, well groomed. He said it wasn't all matted or anything like that. It was very pretty hair, and it was long hair. And he said it was every bit of 9 foot tall.
Holy cow!
Yeah, but he said it was slim. He said it wasn't real, broad or anything. He said it was slim built, But he said he used to see these structures all over the place down there,
Well,
We've seen the thing.
I think I sent you a picture.
See, I found one of these little structures behind my shop, probably about, I'm guessing, 100 yards behind my shop. I don't know if you got a picture of it or not.
I went to the ones that came through, and I don't know why if something didn't come through.
It's just a little, I don't know, a little nest, like
it looked like a little cave.
Looked like a little bitty cave built out of briars.
Yeah, this was built out of.
I didn't see it.
Bushes. And the opening was about 2 foot, and once you got in, it opened up to about 3.5 foot. About three.
Wow.
But it was made out of briars, and so I sent that picture to our nephew, and he said that's what I was seeing down on the river was things like that.
It's not a turkey nest, is it?
No. This is
I'll go back and look again.
This is a little dome nest.
It looks like an igloo.
It's got
okay.
a
hole in it's got a hole in the side of it. Okay.
Got a hole in the side of it. That's how I noticed it. I was walking down through the woods and I seen a dark spot up there. And I thought, what in the world is that dark spot? And I kept walking and come up on it, and it's just like a little dome there,
And it's made out of it's sticker bushes. I mean, there was other twigs kind of pushed in there. Where they come from, I don't know. But and the sticker bush is actually still attached to the ground, but this is like pulled over, and I don't know how it was attached to the other side. Did you ever see how it was attached?
Yeah, it's been so long since I looked at it. I don't remember.
But it was, and the height of it on the outside was, well, I'm 5'1".
It was probably about 3.
It was about
about 3 foot.
No, I mean on the outside, the whole top of on the outside. It was.
The main structure was about 3 foot.
Yeah. But on the outside, it was a little bit tall.
Up, but I don't really know if that's part of it.
Yeah. But it was odd. Really odd. But
anyway,
I'm visualizing what you're saying, and you see sometimes in the woods where you see the sticker bushes that grow up into a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And, so you would think that, I guess if somebody wanted, they could pull it down, or Sasquatch could pull it down and then form it into something. But I tell you what, that's some creepy stuff.
You feel like taking a couple more questions?
Sure.
I just take 2 more here. Secret Identity has this one. Good one. Are you guys going to stay there, or is it enough for you to move?
Oh, no. We're there.
We're there.
I love it there. I mean, if things got really bad, I don't know, what I would do. I don't guess.
It hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they're just observing.
I think I would have to put steel bars on my windows first before it run me out of there.
Sure.
But
can you take the chance? Can you take the chance, really, of knowing what you know, hearing some of the things you hear, of these creatures being opportunists, and just that right moment, that right opportunity? Can you afford to take that chance?
Yeah. I guess I don't think about it a lot. I don't know, because I go through
probably a good thing
without a gun or anything, but I don't know. I just.
Well, one more thing here. Strange Land says, have you fired any warning shots when you knew they were looking?
No.
No. I mean,
they may not like that too much.
The only time I guess I could say I knew one was looking was when I was in my pool, and it was, and my gun was 15 foot away from me, and I would have had to walk towards it to get my gun. So I didn't even want to deal with that right then.
You listened.
Yeah, I listened to what. And like I said, I am a firm believer in guardian angels, and she has that voice. I've heard it before, and it kept me out of a bad car wreck with my kids in the car with me because I listened to it. And when I heard that voice again, I listened. So
yeah, no doubt. Listen to it every time. Always.
Exactly.
Trust your intuition. Trust whatever that voice is talking to you. I would absolutely trust it. Every time. But look, you guys, what's going on? This is a true Odyssey. This is one of those things that I would travel for to document. And I hope that
all day
things go well with you guys, that you don't have any issues. But if you do, you guys are always welcome back here to talk about whatever if you need to. If you don't want to come on here, just call me. You got my number. Just holler at me. If you need to talk about it, we're always here for you. We're here for everybody. You got something you want to tell, you don't have to come on here to tell it. You just want to tell what happened to you. Call me. You can go to our website, bigfootodyssey.us. There's a phone number on that page where you can contact me. Again, really appreciate you guys showing up this Sunday at 4:00 p.m. Central. We have a members only broadcast. We're going to do that before Sunday Encounters, and we've got Kevin Saunders coming back. We had him on last Sunday. Just some absolutely amazing things with them talking to him, and also a lot of stuff he didn't get to, but we're going to go back through the whole thing, and I'm going to shut up for you guys this time. So you can actually, Kevin and I have already talked. He's just going to go through it all again this Sunday. But before that, at 4:00, members only will get to have an hour with Christopher Noel. Should be good. He's going to bring some things to show you guys, and we appreciate all the new members that have joined here lately. We really appreciate you. We'll be using that to order the more shirts. So that'll be soon. Brad and I were going to do the news tonight, but one of our producers, Frankie Brown, who was handling all that, she got COVID. So you guys keep Miss Frankie Brown in your prayers. We appreciate that greatly. But thanks again, Pam and Paul, for coming on here tonight. Again, you're welcome back anytime. Hopefully we'll see everybody Sunday, 4 o'clock. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll see everybody hopefully Sunday, 4 o'clock p.m. for the early members only broadcast, and then 5 o'clock p.m. for Kevin Saunders once again. All right. Thanks everybody for showing up. Y'all have a good night.
Y'all stay safe.
All right, thank you.